Hello, thanks for tuning back in. We are here with part 2 of our financial safety series, and we're going to talk a little bit about the types of identity theft. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent. So as I shared last time, we're going to be taking information for this series from our Extension Family Resource Specialist. His name is Bryce Jorgenson with New Mexico State University. He's definitely the expert in this area, but he shared some wonderful resources with us out here in the county that I can in turn share with you in a variety of ways. So last time we talked specifically about identity theft and helping understand that, 1 in 3, y'all, 1 in 3 of us will be a victim of a stolen identity. So how can we better protect ourselves and take precautions to hope that that doesn't happen, or to be able to handle it appropriately should it happen? This time, we're going to talk a little bit about the types of identity theft so that we can create an awareness so you can understand kind of what's going on in the world around you. It's important to understand where and how identity theft occurs so that you can be prepared. And thieves are constantly coming up with new things. If these people, they could save the world if they would put their talents to a positive use instead of just taking things that don't belong to them. And here we're going to talk about some of the most common forms of identity theft so that you know what to be on the lookout for. Okay, so when I say identity theft, what we're talking about is someone who comes in and they use your information to set up whether it's new accounts or access your current accounts, so that they're actually using your name and information to trade on funds that then they can use in some way. So one of the ways that we see is through spam, or what we think of as that unsolicited email. So these emails are sent to deceive you into thinking that it's someone you know, or that it's your bank or a company who needs this information. And they want to get you to click on something to provide them with information that they can then use to set up an account in your name. So it's important to be aware, hey, I didn't ask for this. This is not my company. It's great if you can look at who that email is actually from, not just a name or a title there at the top, but the actual ending on that email address. Because if it's supposed to be coming from your bank, that everyone there has that bank's name as their email, and it's showing up as that bank's name at Yahoo or Gmail or some random link, then that's obviously not a legitimate thing. Okay, so mail interception is another thing. When we talked last time, when those things are coming, make a note. Hey, I should be getting a bill for this. And when it doesn't show up, we want to call. Hey, did you send this? If they did, we might need to do some backtracking, and we might need to start verifying and checking on our credit information to make sure no one's opening additional accounts in our name, because now they have an account number where they could potentially go in and access those accounts and get additional personal information to set things up in your name. Okay, then we have what they call ATM skimming or PIN capturing. And this is a device that they actually put on the ATM that will skim your card reader and what you put in as what you actually put in for your PIN. Okay, it will skim that. And I have in here a figure, but then we took the picture out because we didn't have space for it. But so when you put in your card, it's going to read that information. So just be aware when you do go up to use an ATM, kind of look at it. Does everything look appropriate, like it's supposed to, like it's doing what it needs to do? And think about having, again, not that simple PIN that someone can guess or do, but being aware that this is something that exists. The one time that I've had an issue with identity theft personally, when I called to report it, they asked me where I had purchased gas. And so this was a common thing. They also do this with gas pumps, where they put the device there and it skims and takes the information. And particularly, and think about where we live, y'all, where you're on these major highways going through and people are passing through all the time. And they may stop and do this and then move on. So now you'll see, I know at some gas stations and sometimes ATMs as well, where there's security tape across the PIN pad that shows you it has not been tampered with. So that's something to be aware of and think about as you go to use your card. The whole reason we have those cards is to make it convenient and easy for us to do those things. So additionally, phishing, this kind of goes along with that spam and unsolicited email, but this is specifically when they're claiming that they're somebody that they're not to get something from you. And it may be money, and this is affection and attention. They may just want you to, oh, I'm so sorry for you. Pay attention to me. Medical records and medical information. So here's an example. It's, hello, I'm your great uncle from London. Now, most of us are going to be like, what? I don't think so. But you might have a great uncle from London. If they send this to enough people, chances are they're going to hit somewhere on something that might ring a little true, or, oh, well, that could be. And then you can see there's, I'm struggling financially. And if you could just send me this money, here's a bank account you can use for that. And then, I'd be able to visit your parents. I'd be able to do this. And so it's not all about me. I want you to do this to help, and scams even for, they look like it's a legitimate charity that you're donating to, and it's actually not. So we have to be very aware and watch what's coming in through our email and what we click on and how we provide funds to others. So definitely, if you receive something that looks like this, and it can even be a letter that physically comes in the mail, you need to delete it, get rid of it. Don't send money because chances are it's really not true. And so you don't want to be one that's giving your funds to something along those lines. Okay, dumpster diving, guys, this is still around. When you put things in your trash and then a thief wants to come by and go through and, oh, well, look, here's this bill that didn't get shredded, this credit card offer that has your name and information on it, that now they can go in and say, oh, hey, yeah, I'm Mindy Turner. Here's my information. They changed the email, they changed something else, and now all of a sudden here's a new credit card in my name that I didn't sign up for. So be sure that you're not throwing any of those sensitive documents that have your personal information on them in the trash. Or, a lot of times we'll take things to donate somewhere. Maybe we take it to Goodwill or Salvation Army, and there's an invoice or information in the box. So make sure that when you take things out of your home to go somewhere, that you don't have that personal information there, because if someone else has access to it, they're not always going to use it in a positive way, and it could affect you poorly. And then we have what we call shoulder surfing. We talked before about the websites and being aware of your surroundings. When you're looking at your sensitive data, your private accounts on your phone or your computer, or you get your social security number out in a public place, anybody can walk by and just kind of look over your shoulder and get that. Take a photo with their phone. So these are things we still need, even though we focus so much on that online security and what we're doing on our devices and our computer. Some of these things still happen just in the broad light of day when we're out and about around people. Employees. So specifically think about in a restaurant when you're paying your bill, when you go into a store, employees can take your debit or credit card information because you're purchasing something from them. We give it to them to pay. But when you're not looking, they can write it down. They can take a photo of the card. They can get the security code off the back, which then they can go back and match up to use for things that we don't want them to use it for. The majority of people in this world are good. I firmly believe that. But it only takes the one that can really mess up your stuff. So just being aware of what those things are, and that, yes, these things are still out there. Unsecure websites. Be very careful what you click on and where you go and what information you put in there. Because when they encrypt things, you can't always see that it's there. Now, if you're working with your good antivirus software, like we talked about for some of the tips, sometimes it's going to pop up and tell you, hey, this is not a good website. This is not a good place to go. And it's important to heed those warnings when they come. Be careful if you're using a public hotspot. A lot of times we see, oh, I can click on this general use website or this general use Wi-Fi and connect to whatever I want. They can install a hotspot with a name that looks like, oh, hey, I'm on the hotspot at the airport. and you're not, you're on theirs, and now they have access to all of your information. So it's important to be very careful, again, what you click on, what you connect to, that is a secure system, that what you're transmitting over their airwaves with that Wi-Fi is not your secure personal data. Okay. Pickpocketing. It's funny, when we think of pickpocketing, we think of those old movies when someone bumps into them and takes their wallet and then they take off running. And this still happens, y'all. People, they reach inside a purse and take a wallet. Maybe you have a wallet in your pocket. You get distracted. People get their purses taken out of shopping carts. Okay, a lot of these things happen. So physically having things with you, and again, that's why it's important not to be carrying around your passport, your social security card, things like that, just in general, because these things can happen. It may be a crowded place, less likely to notice it right off, but they're actually just taking your stuff. This is how they might get your credit cards and other personal information that you keep in your purse or your wallet that you take along with you. Another big one is tax identity theft. So how does this even happen? It looks a little different than some of the other types, but they file a Social Security tax return with someone else's Social Security number. They might claim somebody else's children as dependents. They might use a deceased taxpayer's information in filling out that form, or show that they're, like I said, earning under someone else's Social Security number. So there's some warning signs with tax fraud that you can be aware of and watch for. We're all, of course, it's a brand new year. We're finishing out last year. We'll all be getting ready to file our taxes here in the next couple of months. And if there's a big delay in receiving your refund, check on that. Okay, find out where it is. Make sure if you're not getting that electronically, that it's not lost in the mail somewhere, or that it didn't get routed to someone else's bank account. If you receive IRS notification that says, hey, you've got a duplicate filing, you filed your stuff twice, you need to make some phone calls and check up on that, because if someone else filed in your name, it can obviously cause a lot of issues for you. If they're showing, hey, you've got this unreported income, because that's not me, and it's important to make sure you're aware of that. And then if you receive, they'll usually notify you from the IRS too, that, hey, your dependents are on 2 different tax forms, and it's important to figure that out. Now, it may take them a while to figure that out. So if you file your taxes this year and it's 2 or 3 years before that gets caught and you get notification, that's a little scary. So be thinking about as you do your taxes and it's time to file that information, what you need to be watching for to make sure that someone is not using your information for their own purposes. So these are some of the types of identity theft to be aware of, to know what could happen, what's out there. We're going to come right back here. We've got 2 more parts to this series. We're going to look a little more about what you can do to protect yourself and things that you need to be aware of. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, your family and consumer science agent, part of New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Service. We love to hear from you. So if you have a question or suggestion for a future video series, go to our website, curryextension.nmsu.edu, click on Family Health and Wellness. You can submit a question, you can sign up for our newsletter, or you can give us a call, 575-763-6505, or come by our office, 818 North Main in Clovis.